Hi everybody, welcome back to another TkyoSam video. Today we're doing something a little bit different from my regular, style videos. Today we're talking about something that really matters, something very important that affects anybody who loves Japan, anybody who's planning on living or working in Japan. So today we're talking about this dude named Glenn Wood. Full disclosure, I do not know this guy. I've never met him in real life, but I have friends who know him. Anyway guys, I just want to give you a broad stroke picture of what fucked up shit's been going on with this guy and Japan. I'm trying to get, let's look at the bigger picture here, okay? This guy, Glenn Wood, is the ideal gaijin. He's well educated, he's fully assimilated to Japan, and he's super fluent in Japanese. And not only that, but his job is literally stimulating and helping the Japanese economy. Pretty fucking big deal. So what's the problem? The reason why this is such a big deal is because it's a huge violation on just basic human rights that you'd expect in a first world country. It's like my friend Daryl says, there's always a real good reason for something, and then there's the real reason for something. It's basically like don't believe the hype kind of thing. And when it comes down to it, Japan might be so far ahead when it comes to other parts of the world, but one thing that Japan really has a hard time respecting, especially at a high corporate level, is life and death. Literal life and death. People can be working for like 30 fucking years at a company and, something big happens that involves a relative possibly dying, and the company doesn't give a shit. In fact, they'll either demote that person or they'll fire that person, and that's a big deal in Japan. And also, this is another big issue that involves a very normal pattern that happens quite often in Japan, where a company will be fucking up in some department and they hire a foreigner to come in and basically save them and fix the situation. And then once they're built back up again, they get that foreigner, they find an excuse to get rid of him, and then they throw him out. So why is this such a big deal, and why should we care, aside from what I just said? Okay, well, even though I said this happens quite often in Japan, where, people will get harassed at their company to basically leave if some, very dire individual, family, life and death situation happens. This is the first time that it's actually gone viral on a global scale. Basically, Glenn posted this video that I'm going to show later here in this video, and that got over 500,000 views on Facebook alone. Normally, Japan wouldn't give a shit about this, but because the Japanese 2020 Olympics are less than a fucking year away, Japan is trying to get rid of as much bad press as possible. But it's good news for Glenn's situation because Japan's basically under a global microscope right now, where everyone's looking at a reason to fucking call out Japan for some fucking shit that they've done. Because that's one thing that you gotta realize living in an Asian country, or something you figure out pretty quick, is that Asian culture, specifically in this case Japanese culture, there's a real heavy emphasis on shame and public humiliation. It's almost worse than, pun intended, death in many cases here. Putting up a front, putting up a face value is super important in Japan. Almost more important than the actual real situation. And also another reason why this is such a big deal is because, this event doesn't just affect foreigners who want to work at Japanese companies. This affects all those faceless, all those powerless Japanese people that have to deal with this kind of shit. This isn't a very rare situation. This happens often, and most of the time people can't do anything. They just have to quit the company and go and move to another company because, the Japanese companies aren't set up for this kind of continuation, plan, where they're basically oh shit, we've got a heavy hitter employee here and he suddenly has to take time off. What are we going to do about it? Because this has become such a big deal now on the internet that we actually have a chance to change Japan for the better. Not just for us foreigners, but for everybody. Anyway, without further ado, I'm going to let you guys get into Glenn's video, okay? So, see you in a bit.
My name is Glenn Wood. I've lived in Japan for the last 30 years and have worked my way up to become a senior executive at one of Japan's top financial institutions, MUFG Morgan Stanley. While there, I generated huge sales for the company and earned superb evaluations for my work. 日本語ももちろん流暢ですが、今回は母国語の英語でやらせていただきます。3.5 years ago, my son was born overseas, prematurely. So I requested time off to rush to his side in the intensive care unit so that I could take care of him and his mother. My request for paternity leave, however, a legal right in Japan, was rejected again and again and again by the executives of the company. As a parent, my absolute priority has always been the safety of my child. So in an act of desperation, And in spite of threats from my bosses, I took the time off and went to take care of him. When I returned to work, however, after a short leave, I became the target of a long series of harsh abuses. I was denied my post, I was denigrated, and then I was fired. It was nothing short of psychological torture. Large corporations in Japan often threaten retaliation against employees who dare to put family life ahead of dedication to the company. So my case is far from rare, but I'm one of the few who has dared to push back by claiming paternity leave under Japanese law. For the last 2 years, I've been fighting in court against the company's illegal and unjust actions. And everything I'm saying today has been submitted to the court with extensive evidence. They've done everything in their power to drag my name through the mud, painting me as mentally unstable and incompetent. A picture contradicted by the consistently high evaluations they've given me. Their team of pricey lawyers has done everything to prevent the case from moving forward, but their delay tactics have not worked. This case is going to court. However, it's not clear how fair a trial an individual worker can get when up against the Mitsubishi behemoth. For example, the court has decided to allow all of the MUFG witnesses to testify in court, while refusing all of mine. What that means in effect is that some of my witnesses with extraordinarily strong statements will never be heard. On July 5th, the judge will hear testimonies in open court. For the first time since the company began violating my legal and human rights, I'm going to have a chance to testify in public court. This case is an important one. It will set a precedent that will impact not just me, but hundreds of thousands of parents, both Japanese and foreign residents, for decades to come. On July 5th, the court will decide whether it's okay for large corporations to continue bullying their employees for exercising their legal right to take maternity or paternity leave. The court will also determine whether someone can be fired for speaking up against harassment and abuse. I'm coming to you today to ask for your help. If you or someone you know can do so, please join us and support us in person at the court on Friday, July 5th. We must deliver a very strong message that this abuse will never be sanctioned. The more people present on July 5th, the more clearly our message will be delivered around the world. A support group has formed, and they'll be posting all the necessary details at the site listed below. If you're unable to join us for whatever reason on July 5th, then please, for the benefit of all future parents that this verdict will affect, please share this post with family, with your friends, with your contacts in the press, with your contacts in the business world, as well as all political offices. Please, please don't let this get swept under the rug. Let's do all we can to uproot workplace abuse and replace it with wholesome, positive relationships. I thank you, and I'll look forward to seeing you on July 5th.
So guys, you would think that this would be the end of the video, but actually I've got another update for you guys, and that is that it's a big update, and that, the dude, Glenn, after he got so much support from everybody online, specifically going to his event page and saying that they would show up for the court event, apparently, since this isn't a criminal case, this is a civil between him and Mitsubishi, the company that he was working for, basically Mitsubishi is, they're a conglomerate, they're a giant. This is literally David and Goliath type shit right here. And because, UFJ thought this was just going to be a little brush under the rug kind of incident, they were surprised to see that, so many people said, hey, I'm going to show up to the fucking courtroom. And that was over 200 people, I think, on the event page that said they were going to do that. His company basically lost their shit. They decided to delay, very quickly, very suddenly delay the court date. And of course, this is all speculation, but when you're a giant company who your country relies on for economic value, you kind of have more of a say of what's going on in the court systems here. And so, unfortunately, after everyone gave support, after everyone was going to take time off to go to this fucking court event, they canceled it indefinitely. They haven't rescheduled it yet. It's already been, a couple days since it happened. They just, Yeah. So, like, again, I can't emphasize how fucked up this is. The courts basically canceled this because they thought if it's just a tiny dude versus a big company in a courtroom, take in mind, you saw in that video there that he has all of these witnesses that could vouch for him, but they're not allowing any of these professional witnesses to vouch for his character because they're like, fuck you, whatever. And so, because the court changed the date, this is basically killing a lot of hype, fire that these people had for supporting this dude. And it's really fucking some dirty shit right here, devil's advocate, if I was one of the Japanese guys on the UFJ team, I would definitely be wanting to, stop this fire as quick as possible, because if you saw like 200 fucking foreigners supporting him, because take in mind, Japanese court systems or Japanese courtrooms only have about 50 plus chairs in the courtroom. Imagine if the whole courthouse gets filled up with foreigners wanting to go and attend this. There'd be newspapers, there'd be a whole fucking it would actually make news here, and that's what UFJ doesn't want. They want this to be as quiet and fizzled out as quickly and, quietly as possible. So,
About a week ago, I posted a video asking for your support in court for a case regarding the paternity harassment I suffered while working at Mitsubishi UFJ Morgan Stanley. Thanks to your help, the video went viral and was viewed nearly 500,000 times in Japan and around the world. So many of you, both Japanese citizens and foreigners living in Japan, left hundreds of comments sharing your own stories of paternity, maternity, power harassment, and sexual harassment abuse. This highlights more than ever why this case is so important. It's vital to build on this initial success and help not just me, but everyone who is unable to get help and is suffering in silence. Japan has many truly wonderful aspects, but harassment in the workplace must be stopped once and for all. Unfortunately, there's some disappointing news regarding the case. After we've received so much generous support and encouragement, even having some people offer to take a day off work and others travel from all over Japan to attend the court date, the court has suddenly decided to cancel the court date on July 5th. It hasn't yet been rescheduled. The official excuse given was that they would not be able to accommodate all of the people coming. But after the court decided to reject all of my witnesses, while allowing all the witnesses from Mitsubishi to testify, you can only imagine how this postponement is not just discouraging, but also appears highly peculiar. Therefore, it's extremely important that we keep up the pressure. For starters, we've launched a change.org petition. Please add your name to the petition to request effective legal and administrative support in creating positive working environments where paternity and maternity harassment have no place. Next, if you haven't already done so, please go to patahara.com and join our mailing list to stay updated on this case. You'll be kept up to date on all future developments, including when the next court date will be. Finally, I have to ask for your help again in sharing this with your family, your friends, your business contacts, your contacts in the press, and all public officials. Mitsubishi and their allies are hoping this will all go quietly away so they can return to business as usual. Let's show them that we will never be silent about harassment, and we will stand up for justice. And for those who have been and are still being wronged and abused in the workplace. Thanks again to all of you. I'll keep updating you, and hopefully this story will have a happy ending.
So, what can we do about this? Simple. 3 things. 1, if you're in Tokyo or in the Kanto area, once this is rescheduled and announced, just show up. We need as much support as we can to, basically get this at a public face value where we're getting more news articles coming in. And the way that we can do that is by having a lot of physical in-person support. 2, you can sign his change.org petition. I think it has around 500 people now. Imagine if they could get that more and more. More attention to that is better. I signed it. You guys should sign too. It takes like 5 seconds. Just do it. And the third way that you guys can help this out is just by simply going online and sharing this video. If you don't like me for whatever reason, I understand, but you can at least share his original video. I'm going to link it down below in the description down below. Just share it on social media. Share it with people that you know in Japan. Share it on Reddit. Whatever. Get this message out there. So in conclusion, Japan is a great country. I've spent all of my adult life here in Japan. I'm not leaving anytime soon. And just because I love Japan, and I can understand why so many people out there love Japan too, there's no reason why we can't criticize Japan. Well, we love you, baby. We want you to be better. Let's be better, goddammit. It's just unfortunate because, you know, Japan does so many things right, but one of the things that it sucks at is just basic human rights. That's something that you would think a first world country in 2019 would have their shit together against. What sucks is that Japan is just, it's so good on so many fronts. Technology, food, everything like that. It's so great. But when it comes to things like basic human rights in a first world country during 2019. I mean, hell, all you guys need to do is watch my video about my best friend Mark being thrown away without getting charged at all for 6 months in Japanese jail. Link for that video down below. Guys, we have the chance to change Japan by simply adding easy fuel to this already burning fire. The timing is right, and it's so easy for us to help and participate in this. Let's help Glenn. Let's help change Japan for the better. Remember, again, I cannot emphasize this enough. This isn't just about foreigners. This is about Japan, the entirety. Japanese people, majority. It's sad that every day there's probably somebody dealing with a form of fucking harassment that Glenn had to deal with. And they're kokumin. They're the citizens of this country, you know? And it hurts me to know that this country, the place that I love, is fucking over people that are just normal, ordinary citizens like this on a regular basis. Point is, if you love Japan, if you want to eventually live here and work here someday, this affects you. Let's help Glenn. Let's help Japan. It's all in your hands now. See you at the trial.